So here we are in the second term of automobile. Hopefully this will go a little smoother. One thing is, I pulled the chips out again, and you can see. Largely, you know that there's very few left here. I don't know how many there are total. I don't know if it tells me. 16 demand tiles, and I've got 10 of them in play. So you've got a pretty good feel for what's going to be out there. But what you don't know is somebody might be holding this where the lesser thing has a 5 in it. And, well, over here, you know that wherever there is a big variance, which one's going to get the advantage. So you have a feel for what the production is. Blue is very happy to see this pair of 5s because it means, since the low-end stuff, he's the only person invested in it right now, the low-end stuff is going to have a decent amount of demand. This is very likely that this is going to go. So I won't have the only low-end thing in there, but that makes it all the more important to have that demand in place. All right, well, we follow the ordering here, and let's see. What does this guy know? He knows middling level has some demand, low-end looks like it's less, so maybe he's less interested in that. He's got this damn old company here, which is so far down the track that it's going to be hard to make money off of it. Alright, well, it's time to look up what all these guys do again, because there's nothing on the board to help me remember that. Of course, even when there is stuff on the board like the price, I can't read that. At least not easily. So we look through all the different characters and we go through them again to figure out what they have. I know that Ford allows me to build extra factories. I don't know that that's what I necessarily want. I get an extra bonus from someone. Maybe it's Durant, who lets me build a new technology factory. Ford allows me to build more of the same factories. I have cubes. Chrysler might be a good choice because he gives me that ability to get rid of some of my old cubes. On the other hand, if I'm destroying my factory, which I may well be doing because it's so far back, it might not be as big a deal. But I'll take Chrysler nonetheless. It's almost as good as Kettering here. It gives me the second most locations. And Chrysler's the guy who he's going to let me get rid of 2 cubes this turn. He's starting to become pretty valuable. Okay, on to Blue. Blue's holdings. Blue's got the 2 most modern factories. He'd like to expand those. Ford's ability gives him an extra expansion of factories. Tempting. Other things that are tempting? Hard to tell. Oh, these are all in here now. That means I'm not going to be selling any high-end stuff that way. I don't have any black cubes, so I'm not too worried about that, but I may be gathering a lot of them this turn. If I keep those factories open, that could be a pain. I don't know. It's so hard to decide. I'll just take Ford because I can't make my mind up as to what to do. Yellow here. Lots and lots of technology. That makes, I think it's Durant valuable. I have a cube. Might not be shutting that, so I might be getting hit with additional cubes. Who knows? I think extra actions are nice. Durant lets me open up a new factory. I think I'm going to want to do that. That puts it on green. Green would like Chrysler about now with all that. Wow. Well, I'm definitely going to want to close that factory. What does that mean in terms of position? You know, I think I need Kettering because I need the additional technology to advance to the next level. That gives me red. Red's got a lot of production up there that might be hard to sell. Makes Howard interesting. Sloan's ability gets rid of, if I keep all that factory up there, which I may want to do, I'm going to take Sloan. Because I think I'm probably going to want to keep that factory. And I don't want to pay too big a price in cubes for it. Alright, well that's what I just did here. So now we're on the first player. And that's good old Ford. Ford's good at expanding things. Well, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. Let's look at my options. I gotta page through and find that. Now this is all here. Actually, this gives me the characters. This gives me everything on the back. So my actions: build factory, place salesman, take R&D, produce cars, and close down a space. I'm gonna advertise some more, buy more salesmen. I'm holding off on my Ford ability because I get to take that before I produce, essentially. That puts it on Kettering. Now green's got an interesting situation. I got a choice. There's some demand for this. I've got a decent amount there. I'm gonna spend a cube and spend $350 on that. Now I paw through the money. $400, $500, and build myself a factory. Sloan. Sloan has very little. Now, that gives me the option on this. Unless I buy salesmen, I'm not going to sell those suckers. And the luxury market moves pretty quickly after that. What do I want to do? Do I want to build more cars? I too am going to throw some salesmen out. Now, there's not a lot of room for sales, but I might as well get some out there because I can mix some up. If I end up getting a luxury vehicle, that works fine. Over to Durant. Durant's good at getting more technology into play. Well, I could certainly grab the early luxury, but for the similar reasons that other people are putting salesmen out, I think I want to play that game as well. And now we're on orange. Orange doesn't have a lot of technology. He's going to want to close that factory, but he needs to produce from it first. Well, right now we're at 9, 12 salesmen. It's going to be rough to fill a slot. Oh, we're on turn 2, so there's more slots. Yeah, I'm going to go with salesman as well. And that moves us forward. And what do we got next? Ford wants to buy a factory. What kind of factory do I want? I'm not going to be too far behind in middling the way I see things. So I'm going to buy a $400 factory there. I'm not going to use my Ford special ability. And that doesn't hurt me at all. I probably want to use my Ford special ability, but all right. That puts me on Kettering. Kettering is sitting with this. I don't want to overproduce these things. We're looking at 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 16. There's 18 slots overall for sale, but 5 of them are high-end slots. Do I want to keep going into the high-end? Well, if I purchase a high-end, I won't be able to get salesmen, so the answer to that is no. I may have trouble selling, but I'm going to build another $350 factory. And hopefully I can find the money. So I get 700 back. I hate this money. Alright, and that's green. Okay. That puts us on red. Red's got his salesman out. He's got his production up. He's going to be able to produce up to 7 cars. The higher values are going to be out there. I think I can sell a decent amount. I could sell a couple of high-end cars if I buy a high-end factory. So I'm going to spend a technology to buy a $400 factory there. That'll be Sloan's action. I don't remember what his special is anymore. I think it's cubes. Durant. Durant has not done his special yet. I can get more of those. I could, of course, spend 3 cubes and get a high-end factory, but that doesn't seem terribly valuable. I want to use my Durant special ability, and I want to use it before I build more cars. So I've got to do it soon. So I'm going to trigger Durant. I'm going to drop one of these, and I'm going to build a factory here for 450. If I page through this difficult to read money. But that was free. Now I get to take another action. I could, of course, build cars here, or one of these other things. So if I build cars, I could shut down this factory afterwards. which might not be that bad an idea. I would get rid of my cube. I'd be in the lead there of those. However, with my advertising, well, with these, what's my chance of getting an advertising slot? I think the first 3 might fall. I might have to cut prices, but then cutting prices isn't so terrible either. That gets me 2 cubes, or 2 chips. What am I trying to think of here? So next time I'm going to build cars, before I build cars, do I want more factory capability? That's really the question. I think the answer is yes. I'm going to spend $450 for that. Let me get rid of that money. And that goes down. And now we go to Chrysler. And Chrysler's second action. He's way back there. He's got some ability to sell cars. I could drop into an Apperson. I think I want another type of factory, even if it is just a luxury that I'm not going to... See, here's the problem. There's going to be this Romer or whatever. But then there's a long stretch of no luxury cars for a while. So I'll buy this for $450. I guess. It gets me $50. What's Chrysler's special ability? He gets to cut down my cubes. So that's my usage there. And now I'm on the third action, Ford. Ford wants to expand. Now, what kind of factory do I want to buy? If I buy a parts factory there for $500, see, I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of... The fact that I have 2 5s here, to me means, okay, maybe this isn't going to sell that well. Another alternative, though, would be to buy up more of that. So I'll go for parts. Yeah, I'm going to go for the parts factory. That's going to cost me $500. And it's very hard to think with the money and the camera in my hand. So $500 I do that, but now I get to take an action. I'm going to produce my cars. I got to figure out how much I want to spend on that. Now these suckers give me $20 off on each one. I want to produce the maximum of the cheap shit. In fact, I probably want to produce the maximum of everything with all my showrooms. So I've got 1 factory of those. I can spend 4 of those, or I can build 4 of these cheap cars for $200, and then 7 of these at $50, $350. Should cost me $550. I have 600 here, so I get $50. Let's make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Everybody's going to be building cars, so I'm going to cut off for a little while while I figure that out, because that's just an irritation to do on camera. Well, as we move in, it looks like there's some significant attempts to oversell here. You can just see all those cars. Of course, there's a lot of showrooms open, so maybe that'll help out. We'll see what that goes with. We don't have Chucky here. So we go to salesman, and blue has to go first. Now, here I'm going to start selecting them. Blue has to make their decision. Okay, what do they think they can sell? What do they think they can't? In terms of these these low value cars, I've got this covered. If I can sell twice with a discount or something, I'm okay. I don't know if I really want to sell with a discount if I can help it, because I only make 20 bucks a car that way. But I'm worried about this huge pile here. And green doesn't have any salesmen. On the other hand, over on the... So I don't have to worry about green filling these. So I'm going to move one of these in place. I'm going to continue on with these without viewing in, I think. Well, let's do at least one round here. Red is selling luxury cars. I have to worry about the luxury cars they're selling because I don't have any market for them. There's no demand, so I have to make sure that I move those into place. That brings me over to yellow. Yellow is only selling mid-level cars, so that goes here. I'll mark these down in a moment. I guess I can do them now. I don't know. I'll figure them out in a moment. So that's, yeah, I gotta do them at the time. Blue takes one of these. Now what's difficult here is some people, like yellow, have to choose between their two companies or their two factories which to sell from. And that makes it kind of more of a pain in the ass. So I don't know if I'm going to get here a second time. So I'm going to put this into there. So that's yellow. Now to orange. Orange is selling luxury cars, so they had better sell some of them off. And I'll keep going down this way. Okay, so here we're sitting at what the final outcome is, with red and orange taking the high value cars, and I'm putting them there. They'll score later in the turn. But they both jumped in and cut into the medium values, and obviously blue was already by them. Poor yellow got stuck with an extra dude. He loses that dude. That's not so terrible, I guess. But he also picks up a lost shit to make up for whatever financing he had to take place. The rest of these all have sold their cars. I've marked them there. And now they slide into their respective spaces. And we move to that. And that means it's blue's turn. Now, blue needs to sell some cars. I don't want to take a cut in price, even though with the factory I was able, or with the tool, I was able to buy things kind of cheaply. I'm going to spend 2 cubes and grab that first advertising marker there. That'll let me sell them off at a cheaper price. Puts me to green, and green's got some real worries. He's considering a discount here with all these cars here. Of course, conceivably take the discount anyway. Another option is he kind of wants to close this factory. Nobody closed any factories, so this is becoming very interesting to some people. It's especially interesting to him because he has a bunch of cubes here, but there are other people who have a decent number at least. Close this. I get $100 back for the factory, and I get to ditch two of my penalty cubes, which will help some. Unfortunately, that gives it to red. Red is saying, how many times am I going to get through here? I'll drop an ad on there. It's hard to tell what the value of these suckers is because it affects the pick you take, or you could give up an action to do it. But generally you only need to do one production action, although if you have very few factories you might want to crank out twice. So now we're on yellow. What does yellow want? Well, yellow's got a bunch of these to get rid of. I too am going to take an advertising action that hands it off to Orange. Orange only has one car to get rid of. There's no reason for me to reduce the price. I either sell that car or I don't. So I'm taking first pick. Puts me back to blue. Blue feels like this should be sufficient. It's hard to tell. I don't want to reduce prices. I'm worried that I'll have an extra car, but I'll bail here. Green. Green's got a bunch there. I don't think I can sell them all easily, so I'm going to cut my prices tremendously. Does this come about twice? I don't know. Red. Red thinks I'll get through twice. No guarantees. You don't know the number of cars that are for sale. But he'll jump down. Yellow. Yellow might end up with an extra car there as well. But again, doesn't seem worth it. Now we're back on green. Now here's the thing. How many times through? 3, 6, 9. I'm putting this here. I need to sell my cars. I'll come back after we see how much everybody sold. I want to make up for green's clear error here. These are low value cards. Nobody else is in that market. So I'm just leaving them all there because blue's already sold what it's got in that market. I'm not competing with anyone there. I'm going to leave this one here and leave green's position here, not try to recreate everything. But clearly they didn't want to do that. Trying to see with the piles of stuff in front of it that there's a difference between the things. Yes, it's obvious. And yes, as you get used to the game, I'm sure it'll be easier to see. But the visual aspect of this game is confusing me. I don't know if it's just me today. Obviously, I have troubles a lot of times, but it's definitely hitting me hard today on this game. It turned out the market wasn't that tight. Here are all the counters that were sold. There's nothing left over on anything. Now, I kind of screwed up. The first time I did it right. The first turn. Actually, you do want to collect the money from the salesman when they sell immediately. That way it clears things out of here. It didn't affect play. It's just, it made it harder to keep track of how many things have been sold. I couldn't put them in the box. I had to kind of keep them out until the demand counters were moved. At this point, I'm going to give everybody the cash they're due, and then, well, we move on to the cubes. Cubes appear to be becoming a problem here. Putting people back. Orange, for example, has a whole pile of them here. Red has Sloan. He's the cool guy. He lets me get rid of half. I pulled 4 in this turn. That means I get 2 back. But look at what Orange has. He has 7 cubes. That's going to cost him $140. The highest income earner was this guy with 1,200. Most of the rest are right around 1,000. Orange came in worst in the 700s. His factory produced so little. And now he's also got the hose of all these cubes that are going to really drain his income. He needed to close this because he didn't have any way out of it. Now, he does have Chrysler, and this is turn 2, so he can kill 2 of those cubes. And we got some resetting to do. But now everybody's got to pay for their cubes at $20 a pop. Okay, so here we are at Automobile AM. This is the beginning of the 3rd turn. Nice background sound from some loudspeaker and some sporting event going on out my window. Pulled pulled the chits, and it's funny, you know, I mean, you see something like this, and you've got no idea, because other people probably have big ones, and you're going to say, I'm sure demand's fine. You don't get a lot of information from these chits. I actually like that. I think it's very accurate. I don't feel like the automobile companies really did understand the market very well at this point, which is why so many of the companies had troubles. But it also means, as a game mechanism, it's almost silly. You might as well just randomize the market share each turn. In less players, though, it certainly does affect things more. And then I selected who's taking what. I've skewed the order by doing that, so I'm just going to go down here. Kettering, well, the reason I took him is I was low on cubes, obviously, and I didn't have great choices left. Howard, this was the last choice made. It was between Howard and Sloan. Basically, the question is, how many black cubes am I likely to get? This will generate some, I'm sure, but the biggie that I saw was selling cars is perhaps more important. 2 cars is $100. That's probably going to pull at most 2 cubes. That's $60, you know, but 30 halved for this turn, more for next turn. But Howard looked like he'd create more money. Durant, why Durant for red? Durant is the factory opener, and red needs new factories. In fact, they need to close this one pretty much and get down here. Needing that extra factory to open up means that they're going to be jockeying for position. Now, one interesting thing, let's go to orange. Orange takes Chrysler. I'm really realizing you don't want to go early, particularly. Unless there's something fantastic out there for some reason. There's some things that are good to go early. The executive decision track here is good to go early on. It's good to go early moving these. It's good to go early on a few things. But when it comes to the actual turn orders, you want to be late in the turn. And that seems to be more important in a lot of ways. Although you will get shut out of some of the cooler aspects of this thing if you go late. Anyway, Chrysler gave a couple of cubes, goes late, and has some kind of ability or another. Right. Is able to discard half the cubes, and that was the biggie, because he's got a lot of cubes in hand. But, you know, I mean, discarding what? It's rounded up, down. Oh, look. You have to write down... Oh, no, it's the turn. Okay, so he's going to be able to get rid of 3 cubes. And right now that's $90, but over the course of the game it's $210. That's a pretty good amount of stuff to get rid of. And then finally over here, Ford. The need for more production, because he's going to be closing this plant and building a new plant. He's already got a couple of these. He wanted another something open, but he's not sure what. It might be another plant in this, for all he knows. It's just a matter, he needs more production going. And now we'll move to the actions, and you know what? I'm going to try to do these kind of more off camera than on. See if I can remember everybody's actions now. Yellow, Ford, ends up opening up a plant and then using his special ability, which he really should have waited until he's ready to produce, to build another one. But one of the advantages of putting a claim out like that, by building more, is you might drive other people away from it. So if Ford only had one of these, that's less of an indication that there are going to be a lot more of those economy cars or whatever being produced. So by putting this out early, he's putting out a early statement. Hey, I'm building at least 5 of these, okay? Maybe 9, maybe 18, you don't know. Okay, blue ends up doing a car production. You usually don't do these early. You usually do them as late as you can after you get everything up there. But he's got a lot of production in place. He's building old models. But this one didn't look like it was going to be too far behind. And this one might be. And now his plan is to actually close plants. Maybe not all of them, but he's going to, he's got a lot of showroom dealers, so he can maybe move some of these, do some advertising and stuff when we come to executive decision. His goal is to shut down these kind of useless factories and then start over with a clean slate maybe next turn. Over with Green, with Howard, what did he do? I think he picked up the Romer. Red, Durant used his special ability. We basically advanced into 2 slots, getting both an economy car and a more advanced version of the middle stream car. That means I'm going to want to probably close this plant down. The question is, do I want to do it after I produce? Or do I want to not produce with this thing where it's so far back? Because I don't have a lot of showroom dealerships. If I do production, I may have to do the dealerships, and then I'm stuck with this thing still open, which is not what I want to do after doing this. So I really do want to close that plant. And then finally, Orange, Chrysler. What the hell did Chrysler do? Shit if I know. It's the last one I did. Oh, he closed this plant down here, got rid of some of that overage of cubes. And remember, he's going to be able to get rid of 3 cubes with Chrysler, so he's cut down his cube ratio. He's going to pick up at least 1 from this. He's got to expand to a more modern production, so he's probably going to be in here and then doing a very limited run of those cars. Ooh, Pierce Arrow, I like them. All right, so we move into the second one, and we'll see if I can remember actions that way. All right, as we finish up turn 2, some interesting things happen here, phase 2 of this. Ford, what does he do? Big production across the line. Now, Ford is out of cash. He was at a position where he could have produced more, but he's producing enough that he didn't want to take a loan. We're seeing some of the players really strapped for cash at this point. Blue Kettering, what did he do? Closed a plant somewhere, this one here, after doing production. And it's kind of interesting. Orange closed their plant before production. They could have built more stuff. The $150 wasn't very valuable at this point. They could have gotten a second hit of middling level cars, but they chose not to. Chances are they could have sold these. If anything, they could have used their salesmen, and they're actually going to be kind of low when they hit their production run, whereas everyone else is kind of choosing to close their factories after they produce, which I think generally makes more sense. Okay, over to Green. Looks like a production turn and a lot of those economy cars. Red, also a production. Now, Red had not enough money. In fact, they had to take out a loan. So they've got a $500 loan. They're going to be paying $50 a turn for that. That'll be $100 here and another $100 at the end of the game for it. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do. And they felt like the distribution of the amount of different car types they had allowed them the ability to sell a lot of good different things. They've got every type covered. I don't know if anyone else has done that. No, not yet. And then we go over to the Chrysler Orange, who bought themselves another factory and are planning on producing in the 2 areas they have. They're the ones who closed one down there. They probably should have not done that first thing off. But by delaying their builds, they ended up building a factory here as the most modern car with the Pierce Arrow, so that what they've got is actually a nice second ranked in the luxury and first ranked in the mid-range cars. And that's something that wouldn't have happened. They would have been behind at least to here, or maybe in a different type. Maybe they had the option on the luxury, whatever. They wouldn't have the options they had. Purchasing this seemed very valuable to them. And their other option would be maybe this one. So pretty much no matter what they got, as long as they delayed, seemed better in a lot of ways. All right. Now it's time for the final kind of scramble on what to do. And you get a lot of choices. I mean, you certainly want to increase your showroom presence, but at the same time, there's people here who need to shut down some plants. So you're always faced with tough choices. If you don't shut your plant down here, you get one more chance here if you're the guy who gets that. But Yellow's the one who has that opportunity, really. And indeed, Yellow is counting on that opportunity, so they threw themselves some more salesmen. And let's see who else. Blue shuttered another plant. So they now have a lot of cash, but no factories operating. They're going to have to restart at the high end of the market. That's going to cost them, but it's also going to put pressure on other people. They've got the pressure on them while they've got to turn it and make their own cars more modern. But this is maybe their biggest production turn because they got rid of a double factory with a tooling, with a parts factory. Nice combination there. They're going to have trouble rebuilding that kind of power, but it's been outrun. Over here with green. I think some salesman. Red shuttered a plant. They don't want to pay all those cubes, and that cut down their own cube consumption or existence. That's one of the nice things about shuttering the plants, is you get to get rid of some of your excess cubes. And then finally to orange, who did their production, and well, they feel like they don't have a whole lot to sell here. Howard gets to sell. That's right quick, and then I'll do the sale. A glut of salesmen. Look, we've almost filled the board out with them, but you can see the mid-levels actually closed out, and that happened fairly early. Some of those sold, but some people are sitting on more than they'd like to of them in certain locations, at least over here. And in other cases, so Red would have liked to have sold some low-end cars, but they had their salesman up here, so they had to sell high-end cars instead. And that's kind of a shame, but you want to make sure your salesmen get their sales out. So we got kind of this weird thing with a lot of sales of the low-end cars that I'm expecting probably won't have much demand. It almost looks like we're not going to have a lot of constraints on the sales of cars because of all the showroom sales. I have to set out the money for those, and then we'll go to the pick. Yellow's not too worried about selling things. They closed the factory, which is what they planned. Blue jumps in and buys that first advertising with two research cubes. He wants to make sure he sells these suckers off. He's not sure what the demand's going to be, but remember, we drop down here, and now we're on green. Does green want to do anything? They've got a decent amount of these, but they're expecting heavy demand for them. And there aren't a lot of cubes. What's green's demand mark? Green's is a 3. Other people may be counted at 2 each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. You want to be on the safe side and make sure you sell everything. So if 11 cars can be sold of that type, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I may have trouble. So you know what? I'm going to advertise. Advertising gets me more money than giving discounts does. Although this is a nice big hit to give lots and lots of pieces. Over to Red. Does Red have any piles they're worried about? They're worried back here. Oh, I miscounted. That should be a lot higher than 11. You know what? Green's not going to do that. Green wants their cube back. Green's going to claim the first spot because low-level cars have a higher demand likely. So he's counting on 3 for himself. I was counting 2 for everyone else. Let's say everyone's 3. That's 15 cars. Let's do a quick count. These are the low levels. 1, because we had a lot of sales in the showroom. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think by any reasonable estimate, I'm going to be able to sell all my cars. So I'm good with that. I don't want to There's nothing I can do about that. So that puts us to red. Red does have a problem. They have this, and they look at the economy cars and they're happy, just as green was, but they're not so happy with these. So say these are 2 each, that's 12 total. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got to count everybody's everywhere. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't think I'm going to be able to sell all those without some boost. The question is, do I want to cut my price, which would suck, or do I want to advertise on those suckers? If I cut my price, I could sell 3 of them pretty much guaranteed in that first shot, but I may not get the other one. I'm going to just advertise over there. I think I'm going to get a good shot at this. We'll see if other people start competing by cutting prices, because maybe I have to do that as well. I don't know. And that puts us to orange. Orange doesn't have a lot of cars here. They're pretty sure they'll get a second shot at that. They've sold out everything else. They're going to take a space too. And that puts us back to yellow to choose another one. Well, where's yellow sitting? I may not sell these out. I may not sell those out either. Yellow's going to drop an ad here. And now see, that's putting pressure now on this back end red one, which might have gotten a second time, but it might not now. Onto blue. Now he's got a problem perhaps. Does he want to risk it? What's he looking at? He's looking at only a 2 for himself. Maybe 10 of these total. That's going to be tough, because not a lot, there are a lot of these out there, aren't there? 2, 4, yeah, you got to keep counting. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then another pile. I'm going to discount my prices. And by being the first guy doing a sale, I get a bonus. And that now puts more pressure on red. Do I need to discount my prices? Now, if I hit twice, I use them all up. If I only hit once, though, I'm left with 2 extra cars. And that's definitely worse than being left with 1 extra car. I got good demand there. On an odd roll, I'll go with it. I don't know what the total demand is. I'm going to stick with what I got. I think it's sufficient. And I'm going to drop into here. That puts me to yellow again. And yellow's a little worried now, because, yeah, what if I don't get all the way around? Well, you see, these guys are going to sell 1, 2, 3, 4 right away in one big hunk. He's almost counting on not making it a second time. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know what I'm looking at here. 8. I'm looking at a pretty low number, maybe around 10, 11. I think I need to discount these, because I don't think I'm going to make it a second time around. So I'll drop my prices too. Because the last thing I want to do is have more cars in my showroom. That puts it on blue. Now, blue can't put another discount marker on his pieces. He's got nothing really to do. So he'll drop into last place here. And now yellow has the option to maybe do something else. However, he's got the discount where he wants it. He knows these are probably safe. So there really isn't much for him to do. And that gets us there. And now we look at the chits. Let's get these. So it's the low end that are going to be getting the higher valued chit from each player. We get kind of tied chits everywhere. There's a bonus. And there's a big one. So I'll start going through the assignment of the different sales. And I just do it going around the track. You could do it by individual car type, or you can do it around the track. It works out the same way either way. You know what I forgot? There's a demand for luxury cars, and some people, well, green, actually are counting on that demand. It's only one chit, but there's only one car available for that, so that'll end up selling there. I've gotten the reds and the oranges so far up there. Nobody's got a discount yet. After going around, there is indeed very, very soft demand for these mid-size cars. There's only 2 demand left, and that's going to be handed out coming down this way. And that should be 14 cars total. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 7, 10, 12, 14. So the demand for these has been eaten up. And that means everybody holding mid-sized at this point is sitting on them. That's one there and a couple there. He should have cut a discount for them. Okay. And we'll count up the rest of these. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more of them. 12 total. We easily make that. So all of these make it into their area. And that's because there was a lot of sales of those low-end cars for no real reason except that there were a lot of salesmen and there aren't many sales slots for the middling level. So as we roll into the 4th turn, and note, we're going to get an extra random demand cube for the low-end cars there. I guess the big thing at this point, other than cash on hand, which I think is actually public knowledge, is how's your black cube management going? And what do you have in terms of white cubes? This is your last turn, so this is the last time that you're going to be using white cubes, expanding factories, etc. So kind of, you don't want to have a whole bunch of them, but you also don't want to be entering into it with none. So let's take a quick look at where we are at this point in the game. This is going to be a long video. So in terms of black cubes, a number of players, he's done pretty well with only 1. Orange has cut it down to none using the Chrysler advantage to cut them back. Got a pile of them here, 5 there, 5 here, and remember this guy's also got a loan, which is an additional penalty. So he's paid the most out at the end of the turn with 5 of these at 150 plus 50 for the loan is $200. That's a pretty significant tax to be paying at the end of the turn on whatever profits you make. But let's also take a look at cash. I haven't sorted it out. This guy's got, well, it looks like over $2,500. What's wrong? He doesn't have any factories. So it's kind of hard to compare him to some of the others because you do have to keep that in mind there. He's going to have the most money by far. Here we're talking a little over 1,000. Here, around 1,700. So he's making good money off that use of the loan and those cubes. In a sense, he may be in the lead, even though he's got those penalties. Now, he's got the big disadvantage of no white cubes, which means he's not going to be able to get any additional types of cars unless he picks one of the guys who has a cube, which is anybody but Howard, of course. Cash over here. Now, this guy's kind of stripped down and doing things on a poor level, and you can see he doesn't have a lot of money here. He has maybe $1,000, and over here about 1,500. The car factories get more expensive, so there's a lot of real questions in your head. When do you make the money? Where do you take it? There's a lot of moving parts to capture in this game, and that's something I'm not terribly fond of. I think it's a little overblown on that side. On the other hand, I think it matches the topic really nicely. I feel like I'm doing the rap here. I'll probably say the same things there. Anyway, we'll go on to the next turn after I take a little break. You know what? I'm going to load this one up. I think it's easier to do things in pieces.